Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Ronn Easton's Tell It Like It Is. I am especially honored because today, on this day, this Sunday, I get to honor a very good friend of mine. Now, you all know about Morris Day and the time. You know, the bird is the word and all that, cuckoo, cuckoo, or whatever the hell. But you don't know that one of the founding members of Morris Day and the Time is right here in Minneapolis and has been one of the founding fathers for the Minneapolis sound. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce Jellybean Johnson. What up, Bean?
Hey, Ron, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm sorry to have to wake you up so early on a Sunday morning because
well, it is noon, but yeah, you know us rock and rollers don't get up till like 1.
I know, and I'm honored that you do this. And like I said, you know, for this, I'll have to have you and your lady to the house, and I will cook you a glorious meal in honor of your podcast with me.
I would be honored, Ron. I would be honored.
People know you from Morris Day at the Time, but they don't know the list of some of the people that you have worked with. Start to name those off, would you please?
Well, there's Janet Jackson, there's Mick Condition, there's New Edition, there's Alexander O'Neill, there's Nona Hendrix, Rodney Clark, Sherelle, Ronnie Baker Brooks, and you know that's my blues side, you know, Chicago blues legend's son, Ronnie Brooks' son, Wayne Baker Brooks, and a few others I probably forgot.
You know, they haven't forgotten you, that's for damn sure, but the drums, but they don't realize that you are one hellacious guitar player. Where did all of that come from?
Well, when I was 13, man, I had a cousin that lived with us. We lived with my mom. You know, she had taken him in. He just lived with us for a while and stuff. And he had a guitar, and he wasn't really playing it, you know. So I started playing it and started messing around with it and started kind of teaching myself. So he stayed, and he stayed with us about a year, and then so after a year, he took it. so my mom saw I was, just like with the drums, she saw I was serious about it, so she got me a guitar, and I just started teaching myself. And it started around the age 13.
Where were you born, Dean?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, you're a Chi-Town person.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you ever go back?
Yeah, I do. I love it there. Like I said, I did my boy Ronnie Baker Brooks albums there. Chicago's famous for its blues scene, and the people at Buddy Guy's Legends always showed me a lot of love. I used to go and hang out at their club, the Kingston Mines, the blues clubs, and all that stuff. So, and I grew up. I was born on the West Side. I grew up on the West Side. So, and my mom moved me out of there when I was like 12, 13 years old because the gangs were recruiting me, and she wasn't having it. So she moved us.
Man, strong black mothers, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So how did you end up here in Minneapolis?
Well, like I said, my mom moved me here. Her and her husband moved here in '68, and we moved on the north side. And this is when I started meeting all, I started learning all my music stuff here. I was, Prince was on the north side. Then he was living with Andre Simone, David Island. And I was blessed to be around a lot of kids that had the same, same mindset as me. It was sports and music, so, and I just took it and ran with it. So, starting at the age like 12, 13 years old.
So what was it like to be around Prince in the early days, as they call it?
He was just, man, the thing I remember about him the most is that I just marveled at how good he could play the damn guitar. He was this little short dude, man, with his afro was bigger than him. And and he would, every year back in those days, we used to have festivals every summer over at the Way. Ron, about I don't know if you remember the Way.
I remember the Way.
Yeah. And so anyway, Spike would throw these festivals every year, and so we had these rival bands. I had Flight Time, and he had Grand Central. But anyway, I remember watching him one time, man, and he stuck this little fuzz tone in a little Sears guitar, man, and was wearing Santana shit out. This dude's 13, man. He sounded like Carlos Santana, and I'm like, what? Who the hell is this? And then when he opened his mouth and started singing, he was like, oh my God. We're 13, 14 years old, 15 years old at this point. So, yeah. I also used to play basketball with him on his driveway. You know, he actually could play, even though he was a little shrimp, he could play the hell out of basketball too. He could shoot. Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know that Prince could really shoot some hoops, but
He could play. Yeah.
first got introduced to Prince is when he did that Soft and Wet album, and he
Yeah.
sang every part and played every instrument. And
Yeah.
when I heard that and I read the bio on it, I went, look at this here.
Yeah, because you thought it was a band.
I know. It's like he was destined to be a star from that point on.
Yeah, yeah. I never forget, Ron. I'm glad you brought that up too, because when he did his first concert here, it was at the Capri Theater over north.
Oh my God.
And I remember walking, you know, from my house on Rome Vincent to the Capri to see him. And he did like 2 nights, man. And it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I said, this little kid from the North Side is big time now. You know, it was weird. And it just made me want to, you know, it made me want to be in music just that much more. It really did.
You know, I've told you, you know, a lot of guys they're ashamed to tell a man that they love him. But I'm going to tell you folks straight up, I love Jellybean Johnson, because there are a lot of people, once they make it in the national scene, they forget where they came from, but not Jellybean. Jellybean comes back and he mentors so many young musicians and gets them started off and gives them the confidence to start. How did that all start, man?
I just, you know, well, right, and you know, me and you probably, I told you that before. I got a lot of friends as assholes. So I, you know, and see, that's what I always love about you. You don't miss words. So I got a lot of famous, rich friends that's assholes. And I always told myself that I want to treat people a certain way. And, you know, and trust me, it's gotten me in trouble sometimes. It's gotten me, you know, it's helped them take advantage of me sometimes because of my niceness. But that's just me. That's just who I am, you know, because I call it paying it forward. That's what I call it.
There you go.
And we have, you know, I've been all around the world. I've been all around this country, and I tell people all the time, nobody has a music scene like us. And the reason our music scene is the way it is about those young people that you're talking about, that we see out here in these clubs, and that you work with some of them yourself, and you played with some of them.
Yeah.
And we have some extraordinary white and black musicians here in this town that's incredible. And I always represent Minnesota wherever I am in the world. I represent that. So.
Well, you know, I've always teased you because you were one of them big old robust brothers a few years ago, and told you that I was going to rip off every stitch of clothing in your closet. But see, now that you've lost all that weight, and I'm still this big old pudgy robust dude, I can't do that.
Yeah, I made a point about 5-6 years ago. I was going to lose 100 pounds because I had been a fat rock star for so long, and I decided I was going to, you know, slim down and stuff. And it caught some of those famous rich friends of mine by surprise, because they used to talk shit, you know, oh, Bean needs to lose weight and all that. They fat themselves. I won't name no names, but they were at least. But anyway, so I made it a point to, you know, to lose weight. I got in the gym and I started riding bike anywhere from hour and a half, 2 hours a day. I still do that to this day, especially with all this pandemic crap going on. You know, prayer exercise for me these days too. But that's how I lost the weight was bike riding in the gym.
I gotta tell you, brother, it looks good on you, because the first time I saw you after you'd lost all that weight, I thought you was sick.
Yeah, that's what.
I didn't want to shake your hand because I thought you had.
Right, you wasn't the only one, bro. My people, is Billy being sick? Is he got AIDS or something? You know, it's crazy. You hear all the crazy things.
I know.
No, I just lost a lot of weight. I actually got down to under 200 pounds, and that's when I got scared and started saying, I think I better eat a steak sandwich or something and bulk up a little bit more. But I had lost a lot. Yeah. I was 3 plus. I was 300 plus.
It looks damn good on you, brother, and I'm proud of you for the willpower to do it, because, you know, it took me getting the flu for 4.5 months just to lose 30 pounds. But now one question that has written on me, and I'm going to ask you now. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to answer it. But where did the name Jellybean come from?
Okay, The name Jellybean was given to me by a good friend of mine that was in the band Flight Time. Flight Time was a band before it was a famous production, it became a famous production company. We were 15 years old. We had like a 10-piece band with 5 horns, all that stuff. Anyway, one of the horn players, Robert Bird Martin, who is a good friend of mine, he's just retired. He's a fireman, retired. But we were playing at a club and down called the Old Flame Bar. I don't know if you remember that, Ron. It's the Old Flame. Yeah. But anyway, we had our young asses in there playing during the week and stuff. And we were playing there like 5-6 times, 5-6 days a week. And we really shouldn't have been, but the club owner took a chance and had us in there because we wasn't but 15, 16 years old in the first place. And so it's a typical like Tuesday, Wednesday night, and we're in there, and it's about 3 people in there watching us, and we're playing everything. And since there wasn't nobody in there, we was kind of like messing around. We wasn't, we didn't sound that great. So anyway, we came off stage, and the drum player said, "Damn, man, we sound kind of bad." He said, "We sound like a bunch of jelly beans." And then he looked, he said, Jellybean Johnson. So anyway, the next day he brings a T-shirt. I don't know where he got the money from. He went and had a T-shirt made and had my name on it, Jellybean Johnson. And Jellybean, I've been Jellybean Johnson ever since.
Man, it stuck. It absolutely
It actually stuck. And I'll tell a footnote about that too. I don't know, Ron, if you remember a few years ago, there was a famous producer named Jellybean Benitez.
I do.
And he was messing with Madonna and all that shit. Anyway, I was already in Prince's organization. So he had the audacity to call PRN Productions and tell Prince, ask Prince, would I change my name? Well, Prince cussed his ass out. So he said, no, he's Jellybean Johnson, you Jellybean Benitez. There's difference. So it's crazy.
I can't stand haters. No, you had something about while you're bike riding in this pandemic, and a lot of people are under a lot of stress right now, and music has kind of been the thing that soothes a lot of people. But talk about musicians and national music in the age of COVID and how that's affected you.
Well, at first all, it knocked out all my my national gigs. The time, more than the time, do anywhere from 50 to 60, gigs a year. And as of March, they were all gone, man. So they've been gone. So I'm on Social Security unemployment right now. But and it's hard too. There's gigs out there in the loop and stuff that's supposed, but they've been getting canceled right away because you can't chance putting a bunch of. It's just like the sports, like everybody's in a bubble. You can't put a bunch of people together. And we used to play $5,000-$6,000, 5,000 to 6,000 people a night, and you can't do that. People sitting by side and all that. You can't do that with this COVID pandemic going on. So, I don't know. And it's ironic too, Ron. We were right before this hit in January. We were on a cruise ship, and Marty was on there with me and stuff, and he got sick. And it wasn't because of that. It wasn't because of COVID or anything. She just had, I forgot what she had. Well, anyway, they told her to stay in her cabin, right? So anyway, now she's on there with me and stuff, and she wanted to, it was my last night to plan, so she told them she was, but anyway, she snuck out of her cabin and came and watched us play. And when she came back, they was waiting for her, like, we told you not to leave we told you not to leave your cabin, and they really made a big stink about it. And we had no idea that was what was happening then. That COVID shit was starting to happen then, but we had no idea how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they at the last minute let her off the ship because they was threatening to keep her on the ship. And I can't imagine, man. All hell broke loose like shortly after that. And I could easily still be out at sea, bro. With that shit. It was crazy, man.
And now, as a result of 45's stupidity and inaction, we have close to 200,000 people.
1,000 deaths. Yeah, and he just blowing it off like it ain't nothing, man. Like, hey, it's sad. Vote, people. Vote. Wear your mask and vote. That's on my radio show every Wednesday night. That's what I've been saying. The last thing before I get off the air. Vote and wear your mask. you know, because we got to make some changes, man. We got to, especially black people. We got to have some changes.
Okay, now a new one to me. I didn't even know you had a radio show. You've been holding out on me.
Yes, with me and my manager Jeff Luna, we have it every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's Jellybean Johnson's show, radio show. Yeah.
And on what station?
You can go on Facebook Live, and oh man, damn, I forgot, man. I hate that. But hit Jeff Luna. My manager's name is Jeff Luna. Hit him on Facebook and Messenger, and he can explain it. Or go on my my website, and it'll tell you all the details on it.
Okay, all right. Now you've got some singles out. You put out a single about 2 years ago called "Put Some Jelly on It," and then you came out with "Let Me Shine On," and now you've come out with "She Can Get It." I don't know what can she get.
Brian, you ain't yesterday's fool. You ain't yesterday's fool. You know that's, and you know what "She Can Get It" mean. You know what that innuendo means. It's booty shaking music, and that's, you know, it's for the dance floor. So,
What's next for Jellybean Johnson?
Well, I have my record coming out, which we're aiming right now toward November. You know, my birthday is November 19th, so we're trying to put it out that month. And it's called the Get Experience album, and it's gonna be about 10, 11 tunes on there. And it's gonna be like a view into my life, you know, like a window into my life and how I came up and the music I like. And it's gonna show my rock side and my blues side, my R&B funky side. So,
Yeah, 'cause sometimes your bread and butter is R&B and funk, but a lot of folks don't know that you and Hendrix and some of that rock stuff, you are just tearing up.
Yeah, I always had the hard rock side to me, man. And you know, and I kind of brought that to Flight Time when I was producing here. And it's just a side of me. You know, and Ron, you know what that comes from is when I moved here in '68, my mom moved me here. I came from Chicago, where in Chicago, you know, there's urban radio 24 hours a day. You know, you can hear funky stuff and good R&B music every day. Well, when I moved here, the R&B station was on 4 hours a day. That was it. So it made you listen. You know, I had to listen to white rock stations and Three Dog Night and Black Sabbath and all these rock, Rare Earth, and it made me grow appreciation for the white rock bands. And I grew to love that stuff. And then you added Hendrix onto that, and I was hooked, man. I was hooked. So I just brought that side in, onto the funk side that I had, and just ran with it.
If you were going to give any advice to young musicians, what would it be?
Just follow your heart, man. If you know, first of all, music ain't for everybody. You know, it has to be in your blood. You have to feel it. You have to want. You got to feel it in your heart. You know, and if you do, then you go after it. You know, you stay to your thing and you go for it. You know, but if not, you know, and I say that because, you know, I have certain, you know, family members that, you know, I bought them guitar lessons and put them through, you know, got them lessons, all that, and it didn't stick. So that's a prime example. You know, you gotta want to, you know, to do this, to be a musician. And if you do, then follow your heart and do it. You know?
You do.
Otherwise, you know, and if you don't, then we need doctors, there's all kind of other things you can get into.
You know, here I am at 70 years old, and I guess about a year ago I reached a point where I got tired of performing on stage, because as I got older, it's tough for me to start a gig at 9 o'clock and get done by 1, and by the time I break everything down and pay everybody and get home, and of course I can't go to sleep right away, so it's like to sleep by 3 or 4, then the next day I'm wiped out.
Yeah.
Find that I miss singing, but I don't miss the adulation. I miss the crowds. There's just something about that I've had enough of it. When will you reach that point?
You know, I don't know, Ron. And you know, I'm thinking I'm gonna be this way until they put me in the ground. And you know, I say this because every year I would travel and see Buddy Guy, in Chicago and watch him play the blues. This man's 84 years old playing 2-hour shows, and it's jam pack is sold out. And there's a few of the old blues guys really made me, like Bobby Rush and BB, and BB performed almost right up till he died and stuff too. And that's kind of the cloth I think I'm kind of, I'm gonna be doing this as long as my God willing, my body will let me do it. That's just who I am. So, but that said, I understand where you're coming from, because the life of a musician is tough, man. You don't get home till 2 and 3 or 4 in the morning, especially when you do these local gigs. By the time you tear down, I tear down my guitar gig, my gear and all that stuff, and get it up in the cruiser and get back to the house. It's pushing 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then you got to watch for the po-po too. So, but they like to mess with you. So.
Amen. And
where you going?
Man driving home late at night with shiny clothes on, that's a sign to say, come and get me now.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that completely.
I've had my run-ins. I know. And, that's not good these days with all the systematic racism, and they will mess with you. Guilty while driving black, they will mess with you. There's no question about that.
The thing that saves me is because I have a Vietnam veteran plate on the back of both of my vehicles, and I've had cops swing in behind me. They look at the plate, and then they give me that respect and swing off. So I'm.
Oh, okay.
And it has saved me several times.
Yeah.
Jellybean, I love you, brother. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. You're one of the few people that if you called me and said, I need help, you know where I'm going to be.
Yeah. And I love you as much, man. And I have so much respect for you, man, because, first of all, I respect you for your service to this country. And the other thing I respect you the most is that you pull no punches about what's going on. When something's going on bad, you say, you know what it is. And what's going on in the White House these days, hey, you don't pull any punches about that. And I feel the same way. I just don't say it, But I admire you for saying that, because it needs to be said. And I know there's people going to disagree with us, and that's fine. We can all disagree. We're not all going to vote for the same person. But, I know what I'm seeing right now is not right, especially what has went on in with the Black Lives. I'm sorry. Some of the things that has happened here in the recent years, it's been too much, and we need to change. It's got to change.
Well, when I stood up and took that oath of enlistment, as I have said many, many times, there is no expiration date on that oath.
Yeah.
This day at 70 years old, I am still a soldier, and it is my duty to protect this country against enemies, foreign and domestic. And right now, the current administration is a clear and present danger to this country and the democracy with which we cherish and people have died for. But that's another subject.
Yeah.
Man, from the bottom of my heart, man, I thank you. I thank Smokey Heart too.
Thank you for having me, Ron.
Man,
she's the one that said, I'm computer dumb. I can't get this stuff together. Man.
Well, you know what? Me either. That's without I would be lost here. So, Mr. Andy Tappan and myself, I say, Jellybean Johnson, you are one hell of a man, and thank you.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ron. Thank you. I love you. Be safe.
You always. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Jellybean Johnson from Morris Day and the Time. If you're not hip to him, then you better recognize and find out who he is. Google his name, look for his singles. I think you will be highly impressed. I want to touch away for a second and pass along my condolences for the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Ginsburg was a queen among women. And she has achieved warrior status 10 times over. She tried to hang on until the election time because she knew just how important her seat on the Supreme Court really is. But now you've got 45 and McConnell and people like that pushing and rushing to fill that seat. Look what happened when we got Brett Kavanaugh. We don't want that mistake to happen again. So I encourage you folks, please, if you have early voting, get out and vote. If you can't vote until November 3rd, get out and vote. But please make sure that your voice is heard and vote as though your life depends on it, because honestly, it does. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank Mr. Andy Tappan. Say hey, brother.
Hey.
Hey. Again, I say this, and I say this with no shame in my game. Without Andy Tappan, this podcast would not exist. So I want to thank him, Donna Segura, and my bride, and everybody else. And thank you folks for listening. As it currently sits, I'm in Facebook jail until Monday night because I said something that they slapped me on my pee-pee. And so this will be loaded up on Monday night on Facebook, but you can find it right away on YouTube. You go to YouTube, you Google Ronn Easton, Tell It Like It Is, and puff, there it'll be. Now on our next podcast, on our next podcast, we're going to do a little cooking segment. I have an artichoke dip that is to die for, and then Andy is going to bring to you some financial tips that you just cannot live without. So on behalf of Andy Tappan and myself, I say thank you and peace.